Hello, this is Dr. Judith again from Atlanta, Georgia. I would like to continue our story from last episode talking about Ruth and Naomi. And now where I left off was they have finally decided, Ruth has told them, sister, her daughters-in-law, stay where you are. I'm going back to Bethlehem. Things are better there. I don't want you to come with me. I'm bitter. Now I want to go back. I hear that things are better in Bethlehem, and I want to go back there and start my life over. I don't know what circumstances I'm going to meet. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I need to get out of Moab because Moab has been such a negative place for me for the last several years. I've lost too much here. It has made me bitter. Perhaps going back to Bethlehem, maybe I should never have left, but perhaps going back, I will gain or regain that sweetness, that sweet life that I lived before. So now we are at the stage where Ruth has actually said, I'm not leaving you. I'm staying. Whither thou goest, will I go. Your God shall be my God. She has told Naomi this, and Naomi is now calling herself Mara, meaning bitter, and she does not really want to hear this. She wants this young woman to stay in Moab where she met her. Oprah has already decided she'll stay there. But this Ruth, I don't know what it is with this Ruth. That's what I'm thinking Naomi would be thinking is like, for God's sakes, what's wrong? God, why did you send me this? What is going on here? I mean, I shouldn't have been in this God-forsaken country in the first place. I shouldn't have been here. My husband and I and the children should never have moved here. But we did. And they married into the family and we have loved them and all the rest of it. But now things are better back home. And I just want to get away from the bad memories, the losses, the loss of my husband and my two sons. That was my life. That was my life. You and them. And they're gone. And even though I know I still have you, Lord, and even though I know you still love me, I have become bitter. It does hurt. It hurts the losses that I've had. And yes, Ruth has been a good daughter-in-law. So is Orpah. But the losses are just so deep. And I don't want to walk around miserable and unhappy. And you know something, Lord, maybe Naomi, Ruth coming with me is just going to be a reminder of the losses that I've had. And I don't want to think about that anymore. I just really want to get over this pain. My God, I not only lost my husband, I lost both my sons. Am I being penalized for having come to Moab? Is that what's happening here? I don't know. But Lord, help me. Help me. This young lady will not leave. She will not stay. She will not leave me alone. And she insists on coming with me. And I finally told her, yes, Lord. Because maybe there's something here. Maybe there's a reason why Ruth wants to come with me. As bitter as I'm feeling right now, maybe there's a purpose for this. Maybe there is something that will happen along the way or once we get to Bethlehem that will take away this bitterness from me. I don't know, Lord. And even though I don't feel my best right now, I still continue to trust you. I still continue to believe in you. And Orpah has made a decision to stay, and I don't blame her. Because if I was in her situation, I probably would do the same. But here is Ruth. And dear Lord, she's relentless. You know that she doesn't serve you. But I suspect in my spirit that she wants what I have. At least what I used to have with you before I became so bitter. So Lord, we're leaving here in the morning. Ruth and I, we're going back. At least I'm going back. She's going with me to Bethlehem. I ask you for journey's mercy. I ask you to help us that when we get there, whatever it is that needs to happen will happen. I ask that you guide our footsteps as we go. Lord, I really don't want her to come with me. I really don't. I'm still feeling, I'm depressed. I'm sad. I spent a lot of time crying because I miss my husband. I miss my sons. But I keep hearing your voice. I keep hearing you say, go, my daughter, trust in me. Whatever's happened, it's okay. I have an outcome. I have a destiny for you that's going to make all of this, as sad as it is, as painful as it is, I have an outcome and a destiny for you that will make this worthwhile. And so Naomi has talked to the Lord, and this is my supposition. I feel I would do the same thing. I would talk to him the way I just suggested that she did. Because it must be a hard thing to lose not just one child, but both children and your husband. But maybe in Ruth, he was giving me a daughter. Who knows? I have no idea. That's Ruth supposing. And so they go. And when they get to Bethlehem, it's an amazing story. Read the book of Ruth. It's very exciting, very interesting. Because what I got out of, by the time they got to Bethlehem, what I got out of the whole story, from the time they got there till Ruth ends up marrying Boaz, which is a kin of Naomi through her husband Elimelech. That's his relative. And so I would say that this is an in-law of Naomi. And when they get to Bethlehem, Naomi begins instructing Ruth how to do things, how to go to the threshing floor where Boaz is sleeping, how to lay at his feet while he's sleeping, just taking a little bit of his cloak to cover herself while he's sleeping. She instructs Ruth how to do these things because she knew she had no income, she had no money, didn't have the resources, and Ruth would have to find a husband. And so she begins to instruct her what to do, how to get to Boaz. And let me tell you why I decided to share this story with you. Ruth impresses me. Ruth is obviously a smart woman. Yes, she's a Moabite, but she learned something along the way from Naomi. And she saw God in Naomi. I believe that as surely as I sit here today, I believe that Ruth, despite not being a believer in God Almighty yet, because I'm sure she became so, I believe that Ruth saw so much in Naomi, so much God, so much faith. And certainly she saw an overcoming spirit, because despite the fact that Naomi was bitter and all the rest of it, Naomi never really gave up. And she was willing to go back to Bethlehem and start over again. So obviously Ruth saw pieces of things in the person of Naomi that maybe challenged her, made her think, oh my God, this is a remarkable woman. If I had lost 2 sons and a husband, I don't know how I would live. But here she is. Maybe I can learn something from her. Maybe she can teach me something. And who knows? Who knows what will happen when I get to Bethlehem? And so I love this story for many reasons. And one of them being the fact that Ruth decided to take on Naomi's God, her perspective perhaps, and certainly her faith system. Ruth decided there was something about this woman that I could use. And I think about Ruth in terms of our present age. There are a lot of very bright, intelligent, well-educated women in our world, far more so than they were 30, 40, 50, and certainly 2,000 years ago. But the difference that I see these days is that it's difficult for even very wise, smart, older women to tell young, impressionable women, go lay at his feet. And so what has come to me many times, I've thought about it, and I've done a few women's conferences where I've spoken about this. And people are always like, never thought of that. And this is the point that I will leave you with today. Back then, Naomi, the older, wiser woman, told Ruth, the less wise woman and the less experienced woman, what she should do in order that she get the life that she was destined for. Not that Naomi knew exactly what Ruth was destined for, but by now Naomi realized that God had to be involved in the whole process because of the way things were working out. And so Naomi instructed her to lay at Boaz's feet. And there's nowhere in that book of Ruth that it said, Ruth said, who's this woman talking to? I'm a smart woman. I'm a Moabite. I know stuff. I'm bright. I'm intelligent. Lay at his feet. Oh, that's subjective. Oh, I'm educated. You know, why would I lay at a man's feet? Oh, I have everything that I need. Even if she doesn't, because we have a lot of fakers in our present world, women and men. And so I can just imagine a young woman in these days telling that I would tell her, listen, you know, there's this gentleman, he's a godly man, and you need to go to such and such a place and lay at his feet. They would probably call 911 on me and say, listen, officer, there's a lady here, or whoever is answering the phone at 911 places, said, listen, there's a lady here, she's got to be crazy. She's telling me some crazy things that I ought to do just to be alive. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can barely see any young woman in this day, in this time, that would take that instruction and follow through. It is very, when I tell you, it's hard for me to imagine a young woman in 2022 who would listen to the words of an older, wiser woman. And remember, not everybody who's old is wise. Some people just age, they never mature. But obviously, Naomi was mature. And I would suggest that the things that she had been through, the deaths and the traveling from Bethlehem to Moab and back to Bethlehem from Moab, all of that, Naomi was growing in experience. The losses that she had was making her stronger, making her wiser. So actually Ruth got a really great, and I don't think she was any longer a mother-in-law. She was now the mother to Ruth. I believe that. It makes perfect sense. And so I cannot imagine a young woman in this day and age that we're currently living in that would take that word, that advice from Naomi and go lay at his feet. And folks, when Ruth followed through and did what Naomi told her to do, it ended with, there's a whole lot of things in between that I'm not telling you, but you read the book of Ruth. It's very short. She did what she was told. She followed through. And she ended up marrying a relative of her husband, Naomi's husband, and a very wealthy man, a man who was likely older than Ruth, but obviously from the way it's written, you can't tell, but it seems like obviously he was wealthy, but he was a man of honor also. How many women want a man of honor? I know I would. A man of character. Read the story. It's an awesome story. He was a man of character. He had good intentions. You know, when she was out in the field and she was gleaning, and there are other people out there that are gleaning, and he would ask, who is that? He asked, who's that? And he would tell whomever, listen, make sure as you go along gleaning and what you're doing, make sure that you drop some extras for her to pick up. He recognized destiny in Ruth also. And so my reason for sharing this with you is what I said earlier. I cannot imagine a young woman in 2022 being encouraged then, not told, encouraged to go lay at the feet of a man that this wiser woman, having lived and having experienced losses and gains and wonderful and negative things, that this older woman says, this wiser woman says, listen, that gentleman over there, when you go to church on Sunday, sit in the pew right behind him. Just sit there. You don't have to say anything to him. Sit there. Praise the Lord as you should. Do not put on a show to impress him. Don't wear any short dresses. Don't wear any dresses with your boobs hanging out to impress him. Just show up. Carry yourself the way I've taught you how to carry yourself. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Go and sit in the pew behind him. And don't wear an overabundance of makeup or perfumes. You're not going to try to enchant him. Because what God has for you is what God has for you. But you should be in close proximity to where that person is. Very few of us in this day and age would take those words of a wise woman and follow through. I guarantee you, because a lot of us in this day and age are so highfalutin and so whatever, we might go and sit in the pew behind the man that we are being directed to. But perhaps before the end of the first Sunday, you would slip him a note and say, this is my number. When you have a Naomi in your life, learn to listen. Learn to be obedient. A godly Naomi. Because, we have other Naomis. The negative Naomi. We're talking about a godly Naomi. Do as she says and watch God do mighty things. Like with Ruth, who ended up being in the lineage of Jesus Christ because she married Boaz. And she had a son for him called Obed. And even in her having a child, Naomi was no longer bitter when that child was born. It's like she became the grandmother to this child, a child of Ruth, a daughter-in-law originally of her son, one of her sons, who died. But God did not forget Naomi. And I'm going to suggest also, God did not forget Ruth's loyalty, allegiance, love for Naomi. Because all of that was involved when she traveled with her to Bethlehem. And God rewarded her faithfulness. And God rewarded Naomi that even when she was bitter, she still went back to the destiny he had planned for her long before the foundations of the earth. Folks, read the book of Ruth. There's more to it. And I'm not going to share any more with you because I want you to read it. But I want you to read it with an open mind and with the understanding that one of the reasons why we suffer so much in this age as women, why we are so broken and why we don't have this and we don't have that, and we're looking for this man and we're doing, it's because we are missing out on godly, wise leadership from the women in our lives. I share with young women all the time the story of Ruth and Naomi. I want them to see themselves in it. I want them to look and think, how would I react if I were Ruth? If I did follow her and I really wanted to go with her, but then when I got there, when she told me to lay at his feet, no, I don't do that. I don't do that, okay? That's not me. That's not my style. I don't do those things. If he wants me, he will, if I decide I want him, I will make it possible. I will give him my number, but I'm not laying at his feet. I'm not going to be subjective just because I need a man. I pray that younger women will continually, if you don't even have wisdom, there's something you can see in an older woman who has much more wisdom than you do, and you will say, listen, I don't even know why I'm talking to you. I don't know, but I suspect that you could guide me. I suspect you have something for me. Look around your world. Look around your life, your church family, and look and ask God to guide you to a wise woman. And understand that not every old woman is wise, and not every wise woman is godly. Because you might be wise as to the world and not wise as to the things of God. So I pray that you've heard this story, that you'll read the book of Ruth, and you'll come to understand that The Bible has a lot of instructions for us in every area of our lives. This has been Dr. Judith in Atlanta, Georgia. Until next time, walk good.